This is my 77th video on my work with OO gauge. See part 1 of this series for my reasons for getting into OO gauge when I already had a lot invested in working in N gauge and I didn't really have space available for a large, fully operational OO gauge layout. Also see my lengthy series on my N gauge railway modelling for smaller and more complex scenery and smaller scale trains running. This part is a follow-up regarding locos that were featured with running problems in recent videos. And above all, I must say a very big thank you to Nigel of British Model Trains in Cambridge, Ontario, who did a lot of work to save these locos from their flaws. British Model Trains, linked to website below, is, I believe, the only major dealer in British Model Trains in Ontario, and since I am modelling chiefly LMS operations in the 1930s and I live in Ontario, British Model Trains has been an invaluable resource to me. But beyond that, Nigel of British Model Trains has been tremendously helpful with my modelling endeavours, and his skills and resources for servicing go way beyond what I can do. The two engines featured here just weren't running properly at all when I first tried them. Now they've come back from British Model Trains and I do believe their running problems are fixed, after a great deal of work on Nigel's part, especially on the 8F, which proved particularly obstinately problematic. So let's just look at these two locos and bring their stories up to date. This is the first loco, a Hornby Railroad 3F Ginty in LMS black livery. I bought this one from British Model Trains and picked it up at the Kitchener Train Show in November. Here's the end of the box giving the exact model. This particular version came out in 2017, although it's fairly similar to the Railroad Ginties that Hornby have been making for a long time. I wasn't initially sure whether this model was new or used, but Nigel has since confirmed that it was used, but apparently in as-new condition. Here's one side of the instruction sheet that came with the model, nothing really unusual here. And here's the other side of the instruction sheet, a bit more informative, but still containing nothing remarkable. There was a little detail pack included with the model, but this just consisted of vacuum pipes for the front and back. The loco did appear to be in as-new condition, with all of its expected parts in their proper place. The drive mechanism of the Hornby Ginties hasn't changed a lot over the years, although the motor used has changed. The Hornby Railroad version is a little bit less detailed than the Bachmann version of the Ginty, but still a very serviceable model of a loco that was one of the workhorses of the LMS. It doesn't really have anything much in the way of cab detail, but then neither does the Bachmann version. I wasn't expecting any problems with this loco, but problems started to show up when I tested it on the rolling road. Ironically, this new one seems, if anything, a little bit more unwilling to run than the used one, but then it hasn't been run in, I guess. At least I'm assuming this is new. It came apparently new in its packaging. I didn't really confirm with Nigel whether it was new or used, but I don't see any sign that it's used. It's basically running okay. It's just a little bit unwilling to start. Well, now it's starting it. When I first started it, see, now it doesn't want to go backwards. It seems to have trouble reversing direction a bit. You run it one direction and then it's hard to get it started going in the other direction. And it's running a bit jerkily. Well, see, now it doesn't really want to start in that direction, but it hasn't run in. So we'll run it in. I'm not going to run it in on the rolling road. I suppose technically you could run it in on the rolling road, but I don't think so. I think I'll run it in on the layout. we'll clear the tracks on the Hornby layout and we'll run it in on the Hornby layout, and then we'll hopefully, assuming running in goes okay. See, it really does not like changing direction. It seems to be hard to get it to start when I try and take it in the opposite direction. I mean, not that it absolutely won't go, but it doesn't seem to go well at low speed in the opposite direction when I change direction. It's going forwards not too badly now, but it's definitely a bit jerky, I find. See, now it doesn't want to go backwards. Nope, doesn't want to go backwards now. Definitely not what I'd call a smooth runner at this point on the rolling road. So let's see, well, it's also, I notice, shifted off its, the front roller isn't really, I thought I had that under the wheel, but it's not under the wheel properly now, that front roller. Ah. Oh well. I thought I had it quite nicely on the rollers at the beginning, but nope. And that, of course, is not a fair to it if it's not sitting, whoops. If it's not on the rollers properly, you can't expect it to run properly. So that might be part of the problem, that we're just not, I didn't have it very well on the rollers, so it wasn't contacting very well. Yeah, it definitely seems to be working better now. So maybe I just didn't have it. Those are the DCC rollers, although they're sitting on the, what is it, the HMR, whatever it is, track, but they're just DCC rollers. They don't come with track. You can sit them on any track, supposedly. Yes, it did. I maybe just didn't have it sat very well on the rollers initially, because it seems to be changing, famous last words, more or less. It's changing direction better now than it was before. Yes, definitely changing direction. Ah, famous last words, and then it. See, is this? I don't know whether that's a problem with. It's stalling, but I don't know whether it's a problem with the contacts of the rolling road, or whether it's a problem with the engines running. Oh, we'll see. We'll get it on the. We'll get it on the layout and run it in and see how it performs. Hopefully it should be okay.
Since I wasn't sure whether this Loco was new or not, I went on to try to run it in, but that didn't really go well.
So I'm running this new Hornby Ginty in now, making rather a funny little noise, and that is him making that funny little noise. That sort of weird little wish noise. I mean, well, yes, there's a point on the track there between those 2 points where many locomotives seem to hesitate, especially short ones, and I don't quite know what's going on there. You see where he comes round between the 2 points there. He gets across, but he seems to hesitate, which is not good. Well, he's got to do half an hour of this, of course, and then half an hour going the other way. And then, hopefully, if that all goes well, I might just have a look at his lubrication before I do anything else, just to see, because I have it concerned about that wish-wish noise. I'm not wild about it.
I'm afraid things only got worse after that. The Loco just ran very jerkily and would hardly consent to run in reverse on the layout at all. I might have been able to fix this one myself, but since I just bought it from British Model Trains and I know Nigel always stands behind the Locos that he sells, I contacted him about the problems, and he said that if I brought it back to him he would check it out and fix the issues. I took it up to Cambridge when I went up after Christmas to pick up some stuff, and I just picked it up from Nigel this past weekend. He said that he'd been able to trace the running problems to issues with the brake shoes rubbing on the wheels. Hornby have perhaps got a bit too realistic with these brake shoes, and they were, in fact, actually braking the wheels, especially the front brake shoes, and especially when the Loco was running in reverse. The other brake shoes were further away from the wheels. Nigel said that basically he shaved down these brake shoes a bit until the wheels were able to turn freely without the brake shoes catching them. Shaving down the brake shoes fixed the running problems and allowed the Loco to run freely both forwards and backwards. But Nigel did suggest that if there were any problems with the Locos running in future, the brake shoes would be the first thing to look at. Now let's just see some video of my testing this Ginty back on my Hornby layout.
So, this is the little, nearly new black Ginty after it came back from being fixed by Nigel at British Model Trains. He said the problem turned out to be that the brake shoes, the plastic brake shoes that are cast into the thing, were rubbing against the wheels. They were actually braking a bit too much, especially when it went backwards. The brake shoe was catching on the wheel and stopping it going backwards properly. So he repositioned and shaved down a little the model brake shoes so they don't actually brake the engine anymore. And we believe now that it will work okay. It certainly worked okay on his layout. We got about 60% there. Sorry, I'm trying to, always as usual, trying to be my own cameraman and operate the trains. So there we go. Well, it's going around forwards, not making any noise, and it's not hesitating. That's always good. It was kind of noisy and hesitating when I first tried running it forwards. Doesn't really need running in because it is not, in fact, a new engine. Okay, sorry, I apologize for bad camera work because I'm trying to operate the train. Let's zoom out a bit so my camera positioning is a bit more forgiving, and we'll try and reverse the direction. And send him backwards at about the same speed. It does seem to me actually that he still goes a hair slower backwards, but he certainly runs backwards. He wouldn't run backwards at all without jerking and sticking before. That's exactly the same power setting as he was going forward, 60% on this controller, this Tech 2 controller. And as I say, it looks to me, maybe it's just me, but it looks to me as if he's going a hair slower there backwards, but he's running really nicely and smoothly. No problem. So I think he should be fine. He can go into service now. His problems can be considered to be fixed, and he can go into service. Another Ginty. This is a Hornby Railroad black Ginty. That's the old 8F still behind there. Now, Nigel also
helped me a lot. I did a lot of work fixing the new 8F, so we're going to give that a try shortly as well.
This was the other problem loco, and this one was far more problematic. I didn't buy this one from British Model Trains, it came from eBay UK. This is the model R2249, a weathered black LMS 8F from 2002. This loco has already featured extensively in parts 73 and 74 of this series, as I made a lot of effort myself to fix its issues. Its problem was the front pony truck. It just wouldn't stay on the rails on second radius curves, and once that pony truck came off the rails, it wasn't long before the whole loco derailed when it came to a set of points or something similar. I was able to get the loco to run successfully on the third radius circuit of my Hornby layout, but I just couldn't get it to run with second radius curves on either the Hornby or the Bachmann layout. So I asked Nigel's advice, and he said to bring the loco up when I was next coming to Cambridge so that he could look at it. Well, it turned out that Nigel did a great deal more than look at this loco. He spent a lot of time doing a lot of work trying to get it to behave and testing it on his test layout. For a long time it kept derailing on his test layout just as it had on mine. Nigel did things I would have been very nervous about even attempting. He detached the complex valve and driving gear from the wheels and re-gauged the driving wheels since they weren't gauged well originally. He also did a lot of work on the pony truck, which was the main source of the problems. He noticed that the surfaces of the mounting plate for the pony truck, which needed to run between the bottom of the chassis and the base plate for the truck to pivot, were not at all flat. So he filed down the burrs on those surfaces, which were quite extensive, and then polished the top and bottom of those surfaces. Even after all that, it seemed to be necessary to leave the front attachment screw of the base plate not fully tightened in order to obtain free enough motion of the pony truck, both horizontally and vertically, for it to reliably run on the tracks. In addition, Nigel shaped and glued some lead weights to the pony truck to hold it down better. Finally, after all that work, Nigel was able to persuade this 8F to run on the second radius curves of his test layout and even to cross over via points. So after I brought the loco back home, I approached with some trepidation, testing it to see if it would finally run on the second radius track of my own layout.
Okay, this is my new, recent, the loco driven, the recently acquired Hornby 8F from about 2002, after it's come back from having a lot of work done on it by Nigel of British Model Trains, and he did a lot of work on it. He took the valve gear off, which I wouldn't even dare to do, and re-gauged the main driving wheels, and cleaned up the pony truck more, filed the pony truck down and polished it so it would pivot better, put some weight on the pony truck. And we did manage to get it going round the second radius loop and over the points on his test layout. This is all I've done so far with it since I brought it back is run it around the third radius loop. It's now on the second radius loop, pulling a train, and I'm pretty sure it's railed correctly. Whether it's going to manage to get round this loops consistently without derailing, I'm not sure I'm that optimistic even after all Nigel's work, but we'll see. The old one does, the old tender-driven 8F will get round and pull this train fine on this loop, so it will give him, 60, just over 60%. Don't want to give him too much, but we don't want him hesitating. This is kind of the acid test. Are his wheels still on the tracks? I can't really tell through the viewfinder of the camera. It looks like he got round once, at least. I wish I could see the pony truck wheels, but if I'm going to look at the viewfinder of the camera to see where the camera's pointing, I really can't.
if I look at the actual loco, then I'm not looking at the camera. So I can't keep the camera pointing at him. Well, he's got round twice. This is looking promising. Twice is good. It's just running around. Of course, I'm not touching the controller now because I'm operating the camera. He's got round 3 times. Yes, he's gone through the points. How many times should we try and take him round? Nice. It does look, I think his pony truck wheels are still on the track there. Nigel did do a tremendous amount of work on this. I mean, as I said, he re-gauged all the wheels and he polished that pony truck like anything to make it pivot better. I think he's done it. I think he's actually got the thing so it'll run on a second radius circuit now. I wouldn't really expect it to go on points very much, but that's... Oops, I'm sorry, I'm actually trying to zoom the camera out here because I want to bring it to a stop next time round. And I have to crouch down to get at the controller to do that. Oh, by feel I'm doing it. Oh. Yep, that pony truck is still on the track. It's not that easy to see, but it is. So, thank you tremendously to Nigel of British Model Trains, doing a lot more work than I would have dared to do on this. I think he has actually managed to get it to run on second radius circuits.